Okay, so what I will do here now, I will create a deploy user for the particular namespace. Okay, so he can do everything inside the particular namespace, specific namespace, not in other namespaces which are exist on the cluster, right? So I'll create one separate namespace. I'll create a user, deploy user. Okay, and then we will test it whether what activities he is able to do, he is able to perform. Accept, delete, I'll give all the permission, but for a particular namespace, not across the cluster. Okay, so let's start this activity. So first of all, I'll create one namespace. So kubectl create ns, and then I'll give test ns. Okay, so I created one namespace, that is test ns. Fine. Now I'll create user, that is deploy user, and I'll give the permission, all the permission except delete for a particular namespace. So let me open this. Right, so this is the steps that I need to follow. Okay, so I created a namespace. Now for the deploy user, I have to generate the key with the open SSL. Okay, so let me close this. Okay, so I created deploy user key. Fine. The second step is I have to generate the certificate signing request. Okay, so I'm generating this. It's for deploy user. Okay, so this is done. Now the next step is uh, sign this CSR. Okay, using this Kubernetes CA, certificate authority. Fine. So this copy, and I think no need to change anything. Validity is 365 days. What happened? Okay, so I have done the second step. That is a so this step is done. Certificate signing request and sign the CSR using CA. This also done. Now the fourth step is create the namespace. That is done. Okay. So this is just a minute. Dev team. Okay. So I have to run this. Fine. It's throwing error. Okay, so instead of the previous command, I use this method. Okay, so you can check this in my previous video also, the same step I followed. So instead of that view user, I given a deploy user. Okay, and this is created. Okay, deploy user is created. certificate signing request. So control C. I'll approve this. Okay. So approving this, kubectl approve, and then the CSR name. So I'll use this, and then where it is, this one. I'll approve this. Okay, so it's approved. Now the next step is this is done. So maybe space test NS is done. Now create a role. In that role, I'll give get list watch create update patch. Okay. So all the permissions on all the resources. Okay. Whether it's a daemon set or deployment or anything. Okay. So let me create this, but there is no delete permission. So copy this file and vi deploy role.yaml. Okay, so this is test ns. Fine. So now the second file is deploy rolebind.yaml. Okay, so this is the file. Username is kind user deploy user. Fine. So all looks good. So let me copy this. So need to run both the files. So this is one file, kubectl create -f, then file name. Fine. And then the second file, roll bind. Yeah, both done. Now the next step is I have to give config entry for the deploy user. Okay, so I have to make it enable for the deploy user. So copy it and then paste it. Okay. Could not state client certification file deploy user .crt. Okay. Why it's throwing error? Deploy user client certificate. Key. Okay, so instead of that above command, I just modified the. I found one more command, and that I'm trying to run it. Okay. Deploy user, deploy user, deploy user. Yeah, this is set. Okay, so this is done. It's working fine. So now my file uh, deploy user role and deploy user role bind both are executed, and test ns namespace is created. I have given the kubeconfig access to deploy user. Okay, so now the next step is this is done. Fine, this just now I completed. So we now need to create a context for deploy user. Okay, so creating a context is very simple. I need to copy this file. Okay, but this file I have here also. Just a moment. Right, so deploy user. Fine, this has done. This is done. We need to create a context. Okay, so kubectl context deploy user context cluster name, then deploy user. Fine, so I'm setting a context for the user, deploy user. So just enter, and my cluster namespace is testns. Okay, and then my cluster name is minikube. Okay, so yeah, context is created. So the next is I have to log into this context. Okay, so this is done. Deploy user context. Okay, fine. So I'm going inside the context. Okay, so if I give the cube ns, this will not work, but I'm in the deploy test ns. Okay, and logged in as a deploy user. So I should be able to create pod. Okay, within this namespace. So let me try kubectl run. I'm deploying one application. Okay, so I'll give the pod name test pod hyphen image equal to httpd. It's created. Okay, kubectl get pod. So container is getting created. But if I try this kubectl get pod a, this will give you the error because you do not have access to see any other namespace. In this namespace, as a deploy user, you can do whatever you want except delete. Okay, so I'll do the get pod. Why it's not getting created? Yeah, pod is created. Okay, so if I try to delete kubectl delete pod, then I'll give the test pod. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so delete is not working. Fine. So whatever our no expectation from this user, that we tested it. So he can create any service. Suppose if you want to create one deployment, he can also do it. Okay, so let me check. Create deployment with command image httpd. Okay, so I'll create this kubectl create deployment my httpd. Whether he is able to create run this command or not, that we will check. right? I'll give the replica too. Fine. So yeah, he's able to create deployment also. Okay. So kubectl get pod. So deployment is getting created. If he check kubectl get deployment, he can see his deployment. Okay. If he run kubectl get node, he'll get the error. Fine. So he doesn't have access on the cluster level. This deploy user is particularly having a full access only on the namespace test ns. Okay. So you can check it also. If you give the deploy pod -o wide, so this will show you uh, complete details. And if you describe it, this is my test board. Okay. So kubectl describe pod test ns. Okay. So this will show you, right? So you are able to run. This is under namespace test ns. Okay. But out of that uh, in namespace, this deploy user won't be able to do any changes. He's having a particular access, specific access on this test namespace only. Fine. So I'm closing this session now here, and I will create another session for the cluster role. Okay. So I will show you one more time. kubectl get deployment. Now let me try. So kubectl delete deployment, and the deployment name is my httpd. So he's getting error, right? Because this particular user, deploy user, doesn't have access to delete anything from the namespace test ns, right? So now I will close this session. Thank you.